Okay, it's Max Justice Future Work. Once again, Max, thanks so much for doing this.
Absolutely. How you doing today?
I'm doing great because my digital environment is effervescent. And
Very timely.
yeah, exactly. And so, for this one, we're talking about digital environments. And so,
Yes.
give us the construct here of what you think and what the employee thinks as far as the current digital environment.
Yeah, so a lot of this is related to some recent work that I've been doing in the context of trying to improve the employee experience. Always, in the type of work that I do, it's mostly focused on associates that work for the company, people inside the tent, like we call it. And the trends that we're seeing is that the expectations of the people working in organizations are changing quite drastically, specifically as generations are starting to change. The employees today that are working predominantly in big companies are expecting consumer grade experiences inside of work. And what I mean by that is, offering what it's a service or an internal service like HR services or procurement services that just work or are efficient is not enough. It isn't good anymore. Think about, for example, when you used to go and need something out of a bank 5 years ago, Seth, what would you do if you needed anything?
Yeah, I would go to the bank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or call someone, right?
Or call, yeah, but I would probably just go down.
To the branch. When was the last time you actually went there?
Yeah,
or do you even know where it is?
Yeah, exactly.
So those companies invested a lot on the experience of the associates, of the customers, but not necessarily on the internal experience of their own employees. And I think my hypothesis is that the companies that are struggling these days to offer these types of experiences during events like onboarding an associate into the company, or while they are doing the work to provide a good digital experience like the one that you would experience when you go to a website of a company that's trying to sell to you. I think that my hypothesis is that the companies that match that internal experience with something similar to what you experience in the outside world have a better chance of keeping that talent engaged, particularly in the newer generations.
Yeah.
What do you think about the hypothesis?
Yeah, it makes sense that we are here, that it is difficult because, basically in any session room, no matter what type of industry, you go to an industry conference and everyone's dealing with the repercussions of the Amazonification of that industry. So we're just catching up on how to provide consumers what they want, let alone employees what they want. And I'll strike the balance along with that, with the fact that it's literally only been one generation. My first year in the workforce, they were rolling out email. Now, that makes me sound extremely old.
That's a while back.
But it is just one generation. I'm Gen X. It's not like I'm a baby boomer here.
Yeah.
So it's one generation of, that type of information technology within an enterprise. And again, we just had Amazon happen, essentially.
Yeah, I think that the companies are challenged now because they are rushed to offer better and more modern solutions to cope with this trend. And I don't think there was a realization that providing those internal experiences are directly correlated with the engagement of those associates, and that engagement eventually drives better productivity and more excitement at work. So that is a very challenging situation, but because companies need to modernize their technologies and their ecosystems to provide those consumer grade experiences in something that, I believe it's known as technology driven experience, something that the technology would enable you to have a much better time when you do your job. And that, for example, I think that the traditional intranets, in my opinion, are no good anymore. We need to have those places where you have a sea of information that probably everything you need is there, but it's pretty hard to find. I don't think those things are good and accepted or engaging anymore. I think we need to have the intelligent digital platforms that know the employee, sort of anticipate to an extent what they need, and serves them in the way that they can consume the information. I think that's the direction that we should go.
And again, just to to help out here as much as I can.
Yeah.
I grew up on an Apple IIe, and so the information technology that was presented to me in the workforce was better than what I had at home by a lot. And I remember that. And so I'm fine with that intranet or whatever they have, because I kind of grew up along with it. However, if I'm a digital native, which I'm not, but if I am, then this stuff is just archaic.
Yes. And if you feel that you're working for an archaic company, you may not feel that you belong, and therefore they have the tendency of not connecting with the way that company delivers services. So I think that the companies that of course can afford it and or can build themselves in this way are going to be the ones that have at least some sort of advantage in terms of how they engage with their employees. And I think that us, that are working in this space have a big job to do, because we need to help our organizations to put in place strategies that clearly outline a vision of the journeys that we want all those employees to have. And we need to have a clear definition of where we want that digital experience to be. I personally think that that those strategies should have, of course, every company is different, and they're coming from different places, but simple things need to be, or common things need to be in place. I don't think the worker of tomorrow wants to do a lot of the manual things that you and I used to think that it was part of the normal day of work.
I got to spend the morning cutting and pasting. Okay, fine. Right.
We did it because it was the way to do things back then. But even though that works, to my earlier point, it's not good anymore.
Right.
Because it works, is effective, but it doesn't engage our employees. So now investing in automation is not only about efficiency, but it's also about, allowing our people to do better and more engaging work. And so then going back to the basics, understanding where our opportunities are, where we have high volume, low of transactions, low judgment, where we have cutting and pasting between multiple systems, all that good stuff. And then trying to reap off the benefits of the ERP system, of driving RPA solutions when the ERP system cannot get there. All those strategies around that, and having a good process to do good old automation is critical in that strategy. But I do think that in the future, two trends that I have found very interesting are the development of internal digital assistants, a technology that could understand we have the data of our employees in our systems. We have when's their birthday, we most probably in the big companies when they're traveling, when their laptop is due, all that stuff is in our systems. So we could anticipate their needs, curate them, and eventually serve either the actions that they need to take or the information that they need to go through a particular moment in their careers or in their lives. via technology. And the emergence of those digital assistants that we see in all those companies, like for example, all the ERP companies are coming up with their own digital assistant. If you go to any website out there, they have some form of that. I think that developing that internally, not necessarily developing it, but at least even if it means acquiring it from external providers, but having it, making it happen so that associates can leverage them to do their work. I think it's a trend that the future generations of workers are gonna
expect
and value. You know. So and the other piece is connecting them via collaboration tools is another trend that is a critical part of the digital ecosystem of the future.
Are we talking about Slack? Are we talking about Slack Plus? Are we talking about something completely different?
It's think about in the future, in the near future, we're going to have, I expect that companies are going to have less employees and more gig workers. People that come in and out, and they are not necessarily all in your same location. They could be in many different parts of the world where talent exists. So keeping those people connected via some shape or form of collaboration tool is important. Not all companies have it, and things like instant messages again works, but it's not good anymore to enable a good collaboration. Solutions like Microsoft Teams and things of that nature that enable projectized work to flow better are solutions that I think as part of a digital strategy we all need to have in mind.
Simplify and automate, invest in digital assistants, and find new ways to collaborate.
Yep. I think that will drive to our earlier conversation from last month when we were talking about people coming in and out of projects and coming and wanting to do a more high value added work that varies over time, and matching skills between what you need to do and the talent that you have available. I think these three things could go a long way to enable that agile approach towards driving an organization.
And what is, I don't want to say frightening, but what is maybe disconcerting, but certainly evident here, is the fact that these are not nice to have. These are things that are going to be, if they are not already, expectations.
It depends on there are markets, for example, where the experience that you provide to your associate, it could make the associate stay or leave, especially when you are operating in an environment of full employment. Things are changing very, very drastically. So we gotta keep up with the program, just like the service providers out there did with us as consumers.
There we go. All right, my friend. Another one down. I'm already looking forward to the next one. Thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate your time as always.
Absolutely. Thank you, Seth. Nice to see you again.